2.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Pikes Peak Writers Television. This afternoon we're speaking with Mary Spohn, who has written, "Hey Mom, I moved the pool table." Mary, this is a very interesting title. Tell me a little bit about your concept.
Well, it's actually a non-fiction book on parenting boys.
Okay.
When my son was 17, he had a hernia. And while I had him held captive in post-op recovery, we had a long conversation during which he pretty much spilled his guts, no pun intended. But I felt like he had given me the inside scoop on how a boy's mind works.
So what kind of conversation did you have to him while you were holding him, captive?
He'd hidden his hernia. He'd managed to slip it. He was a football player in high school, and he had hidden his hernia for 4 years, basically because he wanted to play football. And he said, "Mom, what's the first thing you would have said to me if I told you I had a hernia?" And I said, "Football's over." And he said, "But that's exactly why I didn't tell you." He went on to tell me a little bit about how he'd managed to get it by his doctor, because they have to have a sports physical.
Clever boy, your son.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I understand is that this experience with your son changed your overall approach to parenting.
My approach completely changed. I was one of those mothers who, when my children were small, I thought I shouldn't expose them to guns and violence. And after he had given me his insights, I learned that competition and aggression are fundamental elements in a boy's psyche, and a mother has to give space to those elements to allow their child's character to develop.
Interesting. So overall then, would you say your relationship with your son was greatly improved out of you gaining those insights?
Absolutely. We definitely bonded that day in the hospital.
Okay. And how old is your son now? And more to the point, how's his hernia?
Well, he won't tell me. He's away in college now, and he's doing great. He's 20 now, so that was 3 years ago.
Okay, why don't you run me through a little bit of how you deal with your parenting concepts vis-a-vis how you changed your approach?
Sure. It's basically a series of anecdotes as opposed to a kind of a lecture presentation style of book. Most of the stories are fairly humorous. They're stories. I have 3 boys, and so these are the stories of our life as we grew up, and the kind of hair-raising and hectic and adventurous times that we had together. And so I tell it as a series of anecdotes, and most of them are humorous. A couple of them, like the hernia story, are a little bit heart-wrenching.
Okay, and what beyond saying that boys sort of need to experience this particular way of life, what is it that you changed about your parenting specifically?
I learned to listen. If you listen patiently to your children, they tell you how they want to be raised. That day my son explained to me an awful lot about how a boy's mind works, and he had explained how he was not allowed to show his aggression in any other way. We teach them not to fight with each other, we teach them not to have sibling rivalry, but the football field was a place where he could go out and block and tackle. So my younger child is the beneficiary of that. I allow him full reign with his sporting activities.
Lovely. Who do you think will benefit most from reading this book?
This book is intended for primarily parents raising boys, but so mothers, fathers, grandmothers, and grandfathers.
Okay, and is this the first book that you've written?
It's actually the 3rd book I've written.
Okay.
I have one other book printed, and that is also about raising. It's about what happens when your kids go to college. It's kind of like an empty nest.
And what's that
an
book
empty
called?
nest book. It's called What to Expect When Your Kids Go to College.
Okay.
And it's on Amazon.com under my name, Mary Spohn.
Okay.
And I've ghostwritten another book also.
All right. Well, folks, hey Mom, I moved the pool table. Mary Spohn. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, Mary. And if you are a mom of a teenage boy, get this book.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.